Well, at first I just want to talk about and acknowledge the verdict that came down Wednesday on the two heinous murdering fools. The long period of waiting to find out what was going to happen to these two is over now, and I think I speak as a team here that we hope that the whole Montalvo family, including our friend Chris Lattice Drake, can find some closure in this now. I myself wish that they had the death penalty on the table for them, but obviously that wasn't the case. How do you feel about the verdict, Chris?
I mean, it obviously hit close to home. Nicole was my cousin. She's my cousin's daughter. And so I understand why they didn't go for, murder one. I understand premeditation is quite hard to prove. And obviously, as we've learned in our Ninth Judicial Circuit twice, that Casey Anthony and George Zimmerman were not slam dunks. So I feel like I would rather take something that can still keep the savages off of the streets by giving them life in prison, rather than take the shot at the death penalty and fail. Because once you're tried, you can't be tried again, double jeopardy, So, for me, the ultimate goal was to get justice. The ultimate goal was to get them off the streets, and to keep my family safe, number one, and the community safe. We're not, unfortunately, my family was probably the hardest hit, but, the Riveras have been quite crimeful for a long time in this community, and they have done a lot of damage to a lot of folks. It just so happens that their most savage crime was, unfortunately, to my younger cousin. And I think that a lot of times when you're not given repercussions, it becomes easier and easier to commit more crimes. And I feel like their association with a lot of folks in this community and higher levels of government allowed them to get away with a lot of things. Yeah. So going forward, there's going to be some things coming out, and I think we can reference that later. But as far as my family is concerned, I do want to say one thing's for sure. We genuinely appreciate the support of the community and everyone who came together to rally behind us. Folks who didn't know us, folks who just it was nice.
And it was something that we didn't really talk about on any of our forums because it was during the trial. The trial was happening. It wasn't appropriate at the time. But the trial is now over.
Yeah.
These POSs are going to jail for the rest of their lives, and now we can talk about it.
Yeah. The healing starts.
Yeah.
It's a slow process. But the healing will start.
All right, so real quick, I'm going to run down what happened at the last city council meeting. So a ton of annexations, zonings, and developments being approved by the city council with little or no argument. Chuck's not there to say no, so, and one of those was the gigantic Edgewater community, which got annexed into the city. It got zoned, and it got approved for more development going on there. They approved water and wastewater services, and the developer's going to get mobility and impact fee credits.
Oh, that's mind-blowing.
Isn't that wonderful?
That's mind-blowing to me.
It's not even a shock anymore. Like, we don't even flinch when we hear it, because it's just it happens every day.
This is the consequence that happens when you don't elect the right people to office. And we have a special election coming up soon. We're going to talk a little bit about that later on.
Do you mind if I say something about that?
Yeah, go right ahead,
From the school board perspective, we almost got to a point with Kindred, with the turtles, and I think it was another development, and with people who say impact fee credits, because sometimes the school district gives credits, right? And people go, well, what's the difference? Well, I just want to make that real clear. Well, when a developer sets aside land for us, they're not supposed to just give it to us for free. They're giving us the land to build the school. So we're giving them an impact fee credit from paying the school district. Because when you build, you're supposed to pay an impact fee for it, right? So we say, why give us the money to give it back to you? So they're actually giving us something of value, the land to build the school. So when you say impact fee credit for a developer, what is the city getting for that credit.
Right.
Are they building the road?
That's
Are they
it.
building a traffic light?
That's usually
this
what
like
it
a-
is. It's the roads.
He's referencing internal roads to the development.
Yeah.
So, and we are all strongly against paying for developers' own internal roads.
Yeah.
That makes
I mean,
no
it's
sense
just silly.
whatsoever.
Right.
Yeah.
Not only like Tahokwa,
Yeah.
there were no off-site improvements. Look at Neptune Road, 2-lane road.
Right.
Yeah, 3,000 homes going in on a 2-lane road.
Right.
We still cannot get an answer as to who's paying for the bridge
Yeah.
that's going to cross over that canal to go to the next phase, which will eventually go to Edgewater.
Yeah.
That road that they're giving impact fee credits for to these other developments, they don't even know how that road's going to cross over that waterway. That's going to be $1 million
See,
bridge.
and that's where the proper use of a credit is. Off-site improvements.
Yes.
Like
Yeah.
the bridge is weak, and you know you're going to be 100 more roads. You know what? You redevelop the
Yeah.
bridge, make it stronger. Now you did
That's doing
this.
something
Now you did
Unfortunately, it's
something
not
for the
happening
community.
that way.
That's what a credit is supposed to be designed for.
Right.
So it sounds like these people. And I'm sorry, this is the first
No,
time
you're
I have a
right.
video.
No, hey.
I've always saw these videos before. I always wanted to say my 2 cents. You know, and I'm thinking. That's the proper use of a credit,
Yeah.
not for your own internal use. You know what I
Yes.
mean? It's like your internal use. You're supposed to connect your own utilities to your own property. You're supposed to connect your own things. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But improve the life of everyone else around you, then you may get a credit. And I never quite understood that.
You know,
Yeah.
citizens that don't live in those communities don't care about the roads inside the community. They care about having to
How it affects them.
fight the traffic
Sure.
that's going to be brought into the roads
Sure.
they use daily.
Sure.
You know, and it's just silly that this has been allowed to happen for so long.
And these are massive developments, and as y'all know, impact fees can be used anywhere in the county.
Sure.
They're not just supposed to be used for, especially internal to the project. They're not just for adjacent to the project. They can be used, if it's Tahokwa, you can use that impact fee money and use it to widen the road, say, Canoe Creek
Poinciana.
Road,
Yeah.
Poinciana. They can be used anywhere in the county. So it's the impact on the entire network. It's not the impact on that road. It's the impact on the entire network. So it's irresponsible to give impact fee credits to internal roads. That makes no sense whatsoever.
Well, one of the things like I like to equate it to, and I think this maybe gives a better visual for everyone. You know, Tom and I graduated high school here in '94 again. I'll bring that up. I know it comes up a lot. But I want to say when we graduated high school, I think there was 10,500 people in the city of St. Cloud. And now there's 57,000 people in the city of St. Cloud. So
Yeah.
we've grown leaps and bounds, to say the least, right? Do you know the only roads that they've ever widened since that's happened? Narcoossee,
County road.
Old Canoe Creek, and they've widened 192.
Yeah.
Portions of 190.
And that's it.
Which was a state
Right.
project.
But
Yeah.
so in that
But
time,
that's county as well. Canoe Creek, Semi Park was a county. The city of St. Cloud, what if they widened all
Exactly.
this impact fee money?
exactly.
What are they doing with the money?
So my point
They're
is,
just going to give away more credits?
sure.
They're buying Hastings, right?
Oh,
Yeah,
they're
they're right.
Yeah.
It's multi-time.
Ooh, that was a
So
good
my
one.
point is, we've leaped and bound. I mean, we've gone from this
Yeah.
to this, and we wonder why. Just to kind of give it a perspective, and I brought that to someone's attention the other day, and they said, "Wow, that's powerful when you think about it in that perspective," because we've now cluttered everything. And you know, the thing is this: we related to us sitting in traffic, you know, because Tom's discussed how the majority of our folks here, they travel out of town for work. But you know-
90%.
90. That's a huge
Yeah.
impact. But you know, there's other portions of that, and I relate to this because my mom used to be the payroll supervisor for Osceola County, and when my mom stepped down from that position for a little bit, she ended up going over to emergency to 911, and my mom had helped to do the backup routing. So if there was an emergency and you couldn't get down, let's say Neptune Road, what was the alternative route? My mom would help them to route years ago. So we look at it in the traffic sense of we're tired of sitting in a 45-minute traffic jam. We need to look at it from a safety perspective as well. We need to look at it from the fact that we are bringing in people hand over fist, and now we're getting it to where our fire department, can our police department get to the citizens in a fashionable time? Can they, I mean, these subdivisions, we know we did thousands of houses in a week. I mean, you turn down them roads, you can't get a tanker, you can't get anything down there, you can't get a ladder truck down there. They're so tiny, people are parking down the road. So it comes as a safety issue too.
Safety issue.
It is.
Yeah, 100%.
And since we're running low on water, it's not like we want to be running our fire hydrants like fiends anyway too, you know. So it's like it's a cycle. So I don't know,
It's
maybe
about the only thing that water's good for.
that's that. Yeah. I don't
It's
know.
putting out a fire.
I know you
Right.
thought this was water, but that's tea.
I was confused.
Yeah.
I don't know what was what. That's-
But yeah, I mean that's just one way to put it. And I think for those of us who've lived here for a long time, I think that's one way to make it clear to you. They've widened 3 roads in
And not even with that
27
funding.
years.
And
I mean,
not
we-
with that funding.
Yeah.
and not with that funding. And so what's frustrating to me is, where is it going? Where's it going? You got to pay your way. Everybody should be a productive member of this community. And in order to do that, you have to pay your way through. And unfortunately, we have people who are coming in that are not paying their way through. And that's not at the cost of, that's not the citizen, but we're allowing it to become a burden. And I'm sorry, that's a terrible word, but it's the facts. It is what it is. You know, the impact is on our public safety. The impact is on our education. The impact is on our infrastructure. The impact is on our water. The impact is on our taxes. You know, and I think our community has really seen an impact in the past year with COVID, considering so many of us are employed in the touristry and the hospitality industry. And we took a jarring hit. We probably took a more jarring hit here in Central Florida, in Osceola County, than anywhere else probably in the country besides maybe Las Vegas.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
really.
I agree.
Yeah.
You know?
And during the recession, it was the same way. Us in Vegas were the ones
Absolutely.
that were hardest hit.
And then also, companies need places to grow. When I was first here, I was naive. You know, it's like I saw Nolte Road and I saw Narcoossee on one side and Canoe Creek there, right? And I saw that empty land. I'm thinking, hey, they got 2 access roads. That'll be a good corporate center. You know what I mean? Because you'll actually open it up. You know, that way people work. They could get off the turnpike. They could go in and out. Maybe some people can drive from Orlando down here for
Right.
once. You know what I mean? That traffic flow in both directions. But man, it's like
They just
they're
have
not allowed to
more
look at
houses
an
up
empty
there.
piece of land without putting something on it. I'm like,
Right.
Lord, I'm like, people have
And
to
it's
work.
the same
You know?
things over and
It's the
over
same
again.
builders, it's
A
the same
dentist,
cookie
a
cutter
mattress
homes.
store, a
Yeah,
cell
they're
phone.
retail shops. We need actual corporate center where you
Right.
stop and then actually recruit companies to come in.
Right.
And the government doesn't have to fund it.
Right.
Just leave it alone, let
Right.
it be. You know, maybe create a sign
Yeah,
that says,
but
"Hey, corporate
when you
center,
bring
that's
in
about the most
nothing
investment
but
you
cheap
need."
housing,
Yeah,
you've
yeah.
got roads that are faulty, you've
Yeah.
got
Infrastructure that's
the
failing.
infrastructure. You know, you're not
Shoddy
making
water.
it appealing for the
Higher-
executives
Correct.
to want to live here.
Correct.
So they don't want to move their companies
You're
here.
correct.
You know, we're of course fortunate to have some friends that, such as Jose Martinez, who
Right.
owns this office here,
Right.
Yeah.
who's willing to relocate their business in our community. But you're not going to find that too often. Right?
Absolutely.
So,
He's the
Yeah.
exception to the rule.
yeah.
And real fast to go back to what you said, to back what I was saying up is, not only was Vegas and Orlando area the hardest hit when we had the recession last time, the marketing, the housing market took a real big crash, and we were the 2 cities that were highest affected essentially.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, it looks like it's getting to that bubble's going to burst again. Unfortunately, and we're going to really be impacted. You know, so it's just a sad situation all around. And I mean, it just blows my mind that we haven't learned. And what do they say? History repeats itself. We're doomed to repeat history if we don't acknowledge it.
And then, actually this morning too, and it's so funny you talk about annexation, because there's a special election going on with the city of St. Cloud right now, and I'm getting engaged listening to people, and it was a church, but still didn't matter though. It was a fact that they said, well, they want to do something. I go, well, your property is getting annexed, and they literally got the hot potato. They're like, well, who do I call? The county goes, well, it's not you, it's the city. They're annexing you. Then they went to the city. He goes, oh, it's not annexed yet or something like that. It's the county. So this poor guy is trying to do something. You know what I mean? It's just like
The
bang,
runaround.
bang, 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 and like, well, who's
No one knows what's going on.
yeah, who
Yeah.
gets grandfathered in?
Well,
What's the
Yeah, I
use
can
of
tell, I
it?
can speak on that. When I worked at the city of St. Cloud, Titan Concrete Company went down to the county and said, look, we want to put a concrete plant in, but the land was in the county. But they said, hey, you're closer to the city, so you need to go down to the city. So they came to City Hall. And, I mean, there's nobody there to help a company that wants to open up their doors that can give them all the facts. You know,
Yeah.
in my position, I had to bring up planners up to the 3rd floor and walk them through the whole process and hold their hands for months to get them open. But there's one hand doesn't know what the other one's
Yeah.
doing. You know,
Yeah,
you've
it
got-
seems to happen a lot.
I mean, it's almost impossible to open a business in this city.
Yeah.
They make it real difficult.